This video is sponsored by Brilliant. November 3rd will decide a lot for the United States. The last 4 years have been marked with substantial environmental deregulation, climate denial, and fossil fuel subsidies. So the upcoming US election, among other issues, will be a referendum on climate change. A chance to prove to the world that the US is serious about the environmental crisis that is now at our doorstep. But if we've seen what Trump is capable of as president, what's the other option? What exactly is Joe Biden's plan for tackling the climate crisis during his presidency? And is it the best the United States could be doing in the face of such an existential threat? In a sentence, Joe Biden's climate plan is a $2 trillion strategy to achieve net zero emissions by 2050, with the goal of implementing those resources within his first term. That, at least, is his plan's overarching goal. And this goal of net zero carbon by 2050 is not only in line with scientific research, but also represents a much more aggressive approach to the climate crisis than Biden's predecessors and, for that matter, a lot of the Democratic Party. It's a fairly long plan, but here are some highlights of what Biden hopes to accomplish with that $2 trillion. By 2030, he wants to create net zero emissions standards for all new buildings, make all new US-made buses zero emissions, as well as create 250,000 jobs plugging abandoned mines and oil wells. By 2035, he hopes to create an electricity sector free of carbon pollution. And within the first 4 years of his presidency, Biden seeks to spark a second railroad revolution by expanding high-speed rail across the country. Importantly, 40% of this spending on infrastructure and clean energy will be directed towards historically disadvantaged and marginalized communities. In short, the Biden climate plan is fairly progressive compared to other conservative Democrats, which shows that pressure from climate activists is working. So much so that Biden's climate agenda seems to be influenced by the core ideas of the Green New Deal. Indeed, he admits in his climate plan that the Green New Deal is a crucial framework to tackle climate change because it recognizes the necessary scale of climate action and it highlights the interconnectedness of the environment and the economy. That being said, the Biden plan is still a much narrower version of what the Green New Deal envisions. So if Biden's plan leaves a bit to be desired, then what is the other option that our two-party system provides? To be blunt, Trump's climate plan doesn't exist. His administration has spent the last 4 years repealing the majority of Obama's climate-centered executive orders, stacked his cabinet with oil men and fossil fuel interests, and has consistently refuted the reality of climate change.
Okay. It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
During the coronavirus pandemic, the Trump administration has pushed for even more subsidies for the fossil fuel industry, while barreling ahead with opening up new lands for oil extraction like the recently greenlit land auction for oil drilling in the Arctic Wildlife Refuge. In total, he's scaled back or eliminated over 150 environmental measures in the United States. Trump's climate plan, at its core, then, is one of denial, inaction, and dismantling. An agenda that, if continued for the next 4 years, could lead to much more dire climate change scenarios than what we will already face in the next couple of decades. So, based solely on climate change agendas, the choice is very clear in this upcoming election. One candidate is moving towards scientifically backed climate legislation, and the other is actively battling against it. But is Joe Biden's plan the answer to climate change? Well, a sitting president cannot unilaterally decide to implement the kind of plans Biden is hoping to roll out. Biden will need the cooperation of the Senate and the House to act decisively on climate change, which will undoubtedly be an uphill battle, and why it's important to elect climate leaders up and down the ballot. Biden's plan is by no means the most comprehensive, the most just, or the most progressive. Critiques on the left point towards the plan's reliance on carbon capture technology, which the executive director of the Indigenous Environmental Network, Tom Goldtooth, calls a quote-unquote false promise that will allow fossil fuel companies to continue to extract. Some point to Biden's reluctance to ban fracking as yet another red flag. And looking at some of the informal energy advisors Biden has chosen to surround himself with, it's hard to be confident that Biden is serious about implementing his plan. Many of his close personnel are ex-Obama officials that, as The Intercept reports, embraced fossil fuel development and technologies like fracking while publicly trumpeting clean energy commitments. Biden has a long history as a corporate Democrat developing and embracing conservative policy, but right now, he's the best shot we have at avoiding climate chaos. Ultimately, Varshini Prakash, co-founder of the Sunrise Movement and a member of the policy group that helped expand the ambition of Biden's climate plan, explained Biden's position on climate action best.
Joe Biden's plan isn't everything, but it isn't nothing at all.
Electing one leader of one country will not decide the future of the world. It will certainly help, but for decades, activists and communities have been tirelessly working to dismantle our fossil fuel-addicted economy through protests, blockades, mutual aid groups, and much, much more. This is work that doesn't require a vote, yet influences the course of climate change. Your vote does matter, but that should be where your climate action starts, not ends. Even if Biden takes office, there's no guarantee that his climate agenda will come to fruition. He's had a history of taking the more conservative path, especially when it comes to climate change. Considering the scale of the climate crisis, we in the United States, who are the largest historical emitters of carbon dioxide, don't have the luxury of taking a break after voting, because voting is just one tool for change. We need to use every single tool in our toolbox if we are to dismantle our extractive fossil fuel system and replace it instead with a cleaner, more just one. Viewers of this channel know that I'm always looking to learn. Whether I'm researching climate change solutions or educating myself about the merits of GMOs, I love diving into educational content, which is also why I always recommend checking out Brilliant. It's a website and app that uses problem solving and active learning to make learning accessible and fun. Brilliant is all about seeing concepts visually and interacting with them, and then answering questions that get you to think. Their courses are laid out like a story and broken down into pieces so that you can tackle them a little bit at a time. Take, for example, Brilliant's new course on infinity. At first, infinity seems like a daunting concept, but Brilliant lays out the ideas behind fractals and unpacks the implication of Cantor's theorem in accessible ways that help you grapple with the calculations. With Brilliant, there's no tests and no grades. If you make a mistake, then it's no big deal. You can just check out the handy explanations to find out why you messed up, which for me happens often. You can learn at your own pace, and there's something for everybody. Whether you want to brush up on the basics of algebra, learn programming, or learn about cutting-edge topics like neural networks. So if you're curious like me and want to learn something new, then go to brilliant.org/OCC or click the link in the description and sign up for free. As a bonus, the first 200 people to go to that link will get 20% off their annual premium membership. Hey everyone, Charlie here. This video, as always, was made possible by my Patreon supporters. They donate a couple of dollars each month to help me grow and build this channel so it can reach an even bigger audience. So thank you so much to my Patreon supporters, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in 2 weeks.